Good morning, beloveds. So the cat is down on the floor right here where you can't see him. But he's, of course, being highly distracting. I think I said good morning, beloveds. It's Dante. It's almost always Dante, but it's definitely Dante. So let's do the housekeeping because we're here to do a new design for living, but let's do the housekeeping. And all the housekeeping is me reminding you that we are Creative Life Spiritual Center. Website is creativelife.org. Constant contact email is info@creativelife.org. If you will email that, it'll get you one email a week, tells you what's going on for the week and the month, and the hot links are hot. So click here now means it. Oh, and he just trotted out of the room. So, it is also a blind CC, which means nobody will see your email. You won't end up on anybody else's email. So, because of us. I know how these email things work. And then I will mention the social media merely from the standpoint of we don't monetize it. We don't want to deal with the ads any more than you do. So what we ask you to do instead is go like, subscribe, follow based on which platform you're on with the page. And then engage with the individual post by reacting to the post, commenting on the post, sharing the post. It bumps us in the algorithms. More people see our stuff, which frankly is the goal. So here we are. Okay. It's the goal of social media. Oh, and we are Creative Life Spiritual Center or Creative Life Spark, and I am the running Rev Ryan across all the social medias that I am on. So, A New Design for Living is one of the last books that Ernest worked on. It was published towards the end of his career, and it is the process of science of mind. I've taken to saying that science of mind isn't a religion. Yes, we're a religion on government paperwork. You can check us as a religion on government paperwork. But what makes us different from most religions is we don't tell you what to believe. We believe what you believe is between you and the divine. We teach you how to believe and why belief is important. That's what this is. There is theory in here, but he is kind of going step by step of, okay, look, this is why it's working the way it's working, and here's how you can do it better. Okay? So, we're currently in chapter 14, The Abundant Universe. And today's title is Grow Up Mentally. So let's find out what Grow Up Mentally is about. Life is ever ready and willing to become to us what we think it is. It will be a little or a lot, rich or poor, happy or sad, abundant or scanty. We do the choosing and we live with our choice. Don't come at me with the systems. We know about the systems, okay? But even within the systems, you can choose to be happy. So, because if you let the system steal your joy, then you're doing it wrong. The choosing is done by what we think and the way we think. Not just sometimes, but all the time. That's why patterns of thought and trends of thought are important, okay? What do you spend most of your time thinking about? That's what's going to show up in your life. Always remember that regardless of the way we may have chosen in the past, we are free to choose anew, okay? Now, this principle is not bound by precedent. So just because you have been working it one way does not mean you cannot change. In fact, what he's encouraging you to do is change. We may enlarge our thinking as to what life is and how much of it we are going to accept. It would appear that as a person gets older, the abundant universe seems to get smaller. The child matures into an adult, but do they carry with them the childlike faith they had in their world of supply, or do they lose it? When we were children, we used our imagination and we imagined that we could be anything. We tried things on, and we don't do that as adults as much anymore, okay? The child is the protective shelter of the home, the child in the protective shelter of the home, and the love of, the child, no, hang on. The child in the protective shelter of the home and the love of their parents has complete faith and conviction that all their needs will be taken care of. Okay. So right there, that sentence, a lot of us didn't grow up that way. Okay. I didn't. Most of my needs were met, and my parents did love me, but my parents were young and they made a lot of mistakes, and not all of my needs were met. So, just because my childhood wasn't that way doesn't mean that my adulthood can't be that way. And that's the good news. Okay. So I read that line and immediately went, you know what? Not everybody grows up like that. I'm going to acknowledge that, because I certainly didn't grow up that way. My parents did their best. They did their best. And I think most parents try. So if you did not grow up in that protective shelter, don't worry about it. You can still do it. Okay? I know, because I did. All right. But the child's world expands with the entry into school, and then come the uncertainties and the conflict of adolescence, followed by the departure from the home and the entry into the business world and the national life. They find themselves becoming more lonely and somewhat lost in an expanding universe. Often they lose the faith, the trust, and the security they had in the arms of their parents. At this point, humanity seems to stand singularly alone, a point they have reached by gradual steps. There seems to be but themselves and God. And if they but knew it, that was all there ever was. The love that embraced them as a child was the love that flowed from God. The abundance that the universe has for them then is still available from the same source, God. Nothing has changed. Nothing of reality has changed, but they have gradually limited the degree of their experience in the abundant universe. I did not expect it to go there. That's very interesting. But I get it, because when we are children, my dad was enlisted when I was growing up, and we didn't have a lot, I remember when we moved to Georgia, for the first year we lived in Georgia, we didn't even have a TV. Then we had a little bitty black and white TV that somebody gave us. And we lived out in the middle of nowhere, so I didn't get cable until I was in high school. And I was we got cable my senior year. We got the color TV somewhere when I was in high school. Yes, I grew up in the Stone Ages, so, but still, I read books and I had an imagination and I played outside and I used my imagination and I imagined all of the things. And then when you kind of become a teenager, like you get out into a bigger world, but your interior world gets smaller. And that's what he's talking about. Your interior world gets smaller. And so once we end up out in the world, on our own, then it's like our interior world is so much smaller because all of that imagination, all those dreams, all that, it's all, we don't give it the time and the space anymore. So, and his point at the very end is the love that you felt as a child, wherever it was coming from, its ultimate source was God, and God is still there. The divine is still there. So, that's where we go back to. And why not go back to imagining all of those wild things? All right. Here we are. And I think I'm going to let that stand where it is. Tomorrow we will pick up with Let Life Expand. And I'm going to encourage you now to have a great day, a wondrous day, a fantastic day, a magical day, an enchanted day, a wonderful day, an awesome day, an amazing day, a take care of business day, a take care of yourself day, a make sure you make time to sit down and rest day, a do what you got to do day, a cuddle your fur babies day, a tell somebody a silly joke day, a make sure you make time for a good belly laugh day, a go dance in the sunshine if you got it, or dance in the rain if you get it. We have a 20% chance of rain. We could really use the rain, but it's only a 20% chance. And make sure you drink plenty of water day. It's going to be in the mid to high 80s for the next 3 days. So joy. It's March. So make sure that you do what you got to do to stay cool day. Insert whatever it is that you want to do day. Tell somebody you love them day. Go look in the eyes and see the divine looking back at you day. A good day. And if that is too much pressure, simply have a day. You are enough just as you are. You are a beloved expression of the divine. You are spirit in motion, God in action, an absolutely beautiful masterpiece, and a work in progress at the same time, at your own pace. That's my favorite part of the sentence. I don't know if I said you're a brilliant light, a divine spark, spirit in motion, God in action, and as Reverend Jesse likes to call us, you are a godling. All right? Explore the truth of your being. Get to know who the divine knows you to be. Because the divine knows you to be good. And from there, anything is possible. Anything at all is possible. All right, beloveds. As I said, I'm going to move into the process of my day, but I'm going to remind you, Reverend David should be on sometime tonight. I have no idea when. I will be back with you around 9-ish, 9:15 tomorrow. Take care of yourself. Know that you are loved.